Mercury and the Gatekeeper by Zen J. Jackson. Beckett wasn't afraid of the ghost haunting his new home. He was annoyed with it. He ignored its desperate attempts to stir up commotion by tuning out the glowing orb. It was always zipping and zapping across his peripherals, thumping and creaking throughout the night, and smacking over cups of water and juices that soaked and stained Beckett's clothes and homework. If there was anything Beckett hated most, it was being interrupted during his studies. The phantom was like a demanding toddler. Beckett Smith was an 11-year-old, coffee-drinking workaholic. A sixth grader with executive goals and a vision board navigating him towards success. He planned for college and a future thereafter. In fact, Beckett was so driven, he insisted attending school online. A presentation filled with statistics and testimonies convinced his mother that homeschool was best for him without a doubt. One night, Beckett slaved away on his essay. He stayed up until 3 a.m., constructing and chiseling away at his written work like a fine art painting. Just as he finished typing 5,000 words, the glowing orb zapped behind his computer and exited out the other side. It shut down the entire machine. "No, no, no," said Beckett, searching around the monitor for the power button. He tapped it multiple times, but nothing happened. He looked under his desk. Every plug was pulled out of the electrical socket. Without hesitation, Beckett got his computer up and running again. He clicked open his essay, but displayed on the screen before him was a blank white page. "That's it," said Beckett, slamming a fist to the surface of his desk. He stomped his way to his mother's bedroom, kicking her door open. "Sophia? Sophia, wake up this instant," he cried. "Oh, what is it, Bubby?" replied his mother, grunting into a comfortable position with her eyes still shut. "I can't live here anymore. There's a ghost in my room, and it destroyed my homework." "I hate this house," said Beckett, pacing back and forth like a madman. Hello, Sophia? Why are you ignoring me?" "I'm not ignoring you, sweetie." "Oh, yes," replied his mother as she fell back into a doze. "Sophia, a ghost destroyed my homework. How am I supposed to get us into a decent house with a trampoline in the backyard if I can't work in peace? How do you suppose you're going to get a yoga and spa studio? We have to move back to California as soon as we can." "Oh, sweetheart, chill out. The universe has our back. Besides, we just got here. Give it a chance," replied his mother. "Are you kidding me? 30 days with a ghost in my room is enough." "Don't pay it any mind. Spirits love attention. The more you give it, the more it'll appear." "What do you think I've been doing?" "You can be a little more helpful, you know," said Beckett. "What do you want me to do at 4 in the morning?" replied his mother. "You can't always expect people to jump at your calling. Remember, consideration plus mindfulness equals happiness." "I'm calling Dad," Beckett said. "Good luck," replied his mother. Mr. Smith lived in California, where together as a family, they bounced around multiple cities until the indecisiveness drove everyone crazy. The Smiths split up. Sophia didn't want her son to be anything like his father, busy, commanding, and rigid, so she fought for Beckett's custody. Mr. Smith, always at work, did not fight back. Although she never said it out loud, Sophia hoped her son would grow up to be something of a kombucha brewing meditation guru, hosting detachment and world peace camps. In fact, it was a Reiki healer Sophia met on a retreat who sold them the house for a low cost. She disregarded her old life and had faith in the new opportunity. Beckett's phone call went straight to voicemail. "Hi, you've reached Christopher Smith. Please leave a message, and I will get back to you shortly. Sophia's being a hippie. It's freezing outside for no reason whatsoever. And a ghost just ruined my 10-page essay due tomorrow. Get me out of here, said Beckett. He slammed the phone on the hook after his rant and flopped in despair onto the cold tiled floor between the kitchen table and the refrigerator. He was now crashing from his previous cup of dark roasted Colombian coffee, and it was leaving him vulnerable. He'd never felt like quitting before. He was a man of commitment and enjoyed surpassing expectations. He laid out like a snow angel, calculating how to get a job or if anyone would be willing to hire an 11-year-old. He pondered how to build credit and get his own place and even how to flip his new home. He wasn't thrilled with his ideas. They took time, and he lacked patience. It was when Beckett saw a mouse pitter-pattering against the wall, then disappear behind the refrigerator, that his brilliant idea was conjured. Beckett sprung up with a sudden burst of energy and started pulling the fridge further away from the wall. Perfect, he said, while observing the mouse squealing, stuck to a thick strip of superb glue. Beckett abandoned the fridge and the mouse altogether and made his way to the cabinets under the sink. He grabbed the entire box filled with adhesive rat pads, and from another drawer, duct tape and scissors. He sprinted to the top of the stairs and disappeared into his room, leaving the kitchen undone as if he were a poltergeist himself. His bedroom was quiet for once. The ghost was hiding, waiting to see what Beckett had planned. It was the way he would have liked it for the rest of his life. However, the still moment didn't convince Beckett that the pesky orb was finished. With caution, he placed rat traps throughout his room, on the floor, on the walls with tape, and everywhere he could think of. He was so prepared. With one wrong move, he'd get stuck in his own trap. There was one spot he refused to forget. A thick-coated patch of drywall on the ceiling. It was the one spot Beckett watched every night struggling to sleep, witnessing the glowing orb bouncing and thumping against the surface above his bed. It made him insane. It wasn't until sunrise Beckett began falling asleep. He sat up against the frame of his bed, bobbing and catching his head until it never came back up for the rest of the night. He was awakened by the buzzing of his alarm. Even though he was homeschooled, Beckett followed a strict schedule he concocted himself. His eyes were swollen, stiff with boogers and crust. He logged onto his computer and placed on his headphones. A loud thud slammed against the plaster. Beckett shot around suddenly, recalling his master plan. Having finally slept uninterrupted, he disregarded all the rat pads and loose duct tape laying around. Yes, it worked, said Beckett as he watched the orb nudging away for its escape. The trap was strong. However, the orb ripped it off the ceiling and landed onto Beckett's bed. The glowing spectacle was now sticking to his comforters. Oh, come on, said Beckett, tugging the glue off his blankets. He had to use scissors to trim away the attached cloth. When he turned the trap around, there was no longer a glowing orb. Instead, there was a tiny human-like and holographic figure. Its wings were attached to the glue on the strip, but the rest of his body was unstuck, allowing him to move his limbs at will. "What are you?" asked Beckett, holding the trap up with two hands like a newspaper. He could not deny its majestic appeal. It was quite odd and far from a ghost. "Let me go right now," said the creature. "Not until you tell me what gives," demanded Beckett. "Unhand me." "What are you?" "A fae." "A fae?" "Never mind, I have work to do," said Beckett, unimpressed. He walked over to the trash bin. He stepped on the pedal and popped open the lid, holding the trapped being over the abyss as it pleaded. "Please, wait," said the fae. "I assure you, this won't work." "Shut it. You have been a pest for far too long.
Exactly. I'll continue to rattle until it tips over.
Okay. I'll just take out the trash then, said Beckett as he continued to throw out the nuisance.
Wait, said the Fae. That still won't work.
Why not?
No matter how far away I am from this house, I will always find my way back.
But you're stuck to glue 3 times your strength. You'll never get out, said Beckett as he proceeded to dispose him.
Wait! Us Fays, we honor sacrifice, but we too consider all options first.
What do you propose I do? You can't stay here. I have work to do worth far more than your trouble.
Help me. Once you do, I'll never bother you again,
said the Fae. Never again? Asked Beckett as he sat in his desk chair in relief.
You will never see me again, I promise.
How can I trust you? You've made my entire month a living hell.
I am here on a mission, said the creature. And keep in mind, a Fae's soul is bonded with their word. If I lie or betray a promise, I will die.
Perfect, said Beckett. How can I help?
That patch on the wall where you caught me last is the way to my home. If we can open the entrance, I will be on my way.
You want me to put a hole in my ceiling? No way, replied Beckett.
Behind it lies a doorway where my kind exists.
Whatever, said Beckett. Sophia will freak out.
Freak out?
Asked the Fae. You know, go crazy. Get upset. Don't be a pain. I'm not going to explain human language to you. The Fae stared at Beckett in silence. Fine, I'll do it, Beckett said, losing patience.
Wonderful. But first, you must pull me off this trapping device.
The Fae transformed his body from translucent to fully fleshed. He was around the size of a pen and was now clothed in a thin, dark green spandex onesie. His hair was like a diamond. It reflected colored rays of light. It took some strength from Beckett as he pulled and tugged away, fearing he'd rip the Fae's body in half. He repositioned his grip. With one last pull, he ripped the Fae from the trap. Its wings tore, still attached to the glued surface. A high-pitched ringing noise, like the kind you hear in your ear sometimes, was released from the creature. Beckett's mother used to tell him it was the way angels communicated. The Fae was much louder. It panted until it caught its breath. Are you all right? Asked Beckett. The Fae wiped his brow.
I'll be fine,
it replied as it sat crisscrossed by the keyboard. Now what? Asked Beckett.
We wait.
For what?
For my wings to grow back.
Grow back? Well, how long does that take? Asked Beckett.
2 to 3 minutes in Fae time.
Okay, that doesn't sound long at all.
But in the human realm, up to 30 days.
Are you kidding me? Said Beckett.
Kidding you?
Asked the Fae. There has to be another way.
Perhaps, said the Fae. I am malnourished. If I am provided with flower nectar, the healing process will double in speed.
It's autumn. Every flower outside is dying, said Beckett. Then it dawned upon him. There was still a way. Beckett recalled a few years back to when the family went to Peru and supported his mother's 9-day ayahuasca retreat. He remembered feeding butterflies sugar water in the Amazonian jungle and how much they enjoyed it. He also remembered there was a bottle of agave nectar on the kitchen table. After mixing the sap in a small cup of water, he slid it in front of the wounded creature. The Fae dunked his head into the liquid like a duck and drank until there was nothing left. Beckett was behind on his studies. He was livid about it, expressing his stress and anxiety to the Fae for the rest of the afternoon. He later calmed down and continued the day with homework, refilling the Fae's nectar whenever it was empty. It became like a pet of some sort, a pet he never wanted. However, Beckett was curious as to why each time his mother appeared, the Fae transformed back into its holographic state. He explained it was best to keep his presence sacred from other humans, just to be safe. Into the night, Beckett rewrote his paper, still with a grudge towards his roommate. The second day was similar. Beckett focused more on his work while treating the Fae like a ghost, but this time an obedient ghost. Each time the Fae went to speak, Beckett demanded silence, training it to always keep quiet. One restless night, snow came down like a blanket, covering everything outside. The drafts in the old house were so cold, it chilled the inhabitants' ankles. On this night, Beckett laid awake in bed, staring at the patch on the ceiling. It wasn't his anxiety that kept him up or any noise. It was curiosity. Beckett was curious what was behind the door to the Fae's mysterious dimension. He was even curious about the creature's name, taken by surprise what it was when he asked that next day.
"It can't be interpreted in human language," replied the Fae, "but you may call me Mercury, as it best represents my duties. I'm a messenger."
Cool, replied Beckett. Each night, Beckett began gravitating more and more towards Mercury. He asked him questions, all in which were answered with details reminding him of the way his mother spoke about joy, love, the universe, and peace. Of all the questions asked, Beckett learned it was improper to call a Fae a fairy, the same way one would call a bike a car. When Beckett asked, why bother coming to the human realm, he learned it was in constant need of information in order for the human spirits to evolve. Faes delivered information, along with protection from darker forces who wished to ruin Beckett's world. Mercury explained how the previous owner of the house accepted the duties as gatekeeper of the fifth dimension, the realm of the Faes. But the owner fled in doubt of his capabilities, not before patching Mercury's doorway shut, and fear of any evil crossing over. The nights grew older and Mercury's wings were flourishing. The two friends spoke every night and into the mornings about all the existing beautiful realms as well as the hellish ones. They spoke until Mercury's stories healed Beckett's sleep disorders, putting him to rest faster than ever. It was almost December, and the two companions had a new awareness of one another. Beckett made Mercury a bed out of a shoebox and used a sock to keep him warm during the snowstorms. He got around to explaining some of the human terms he used, such as cool and chill out. The pair even found themselves watching the movie Thumbelina on Beckett's computer. Back in Cali, it was family tradition to watch a good flick after supper, said Beckett. This one is my favorite.
"You must miss the togetherness of your family,"
said Mercury. Yeah, I guess so. It was fun when we were together.
"You believe in togetherness like Thumbelina,"
he said with a smile. The two stared at the screen, captivated by the fairy tale. I guess so, said Beckett. When the movie was over, Beckett tucked Mercury in, talking until the streets were empty and the moon was bold and bright. They spoke about other films of fantasy and comedy. Mercury loved to laugh, and Beckett loved adventure and magic. The two spoke for so long that this time, Mercury was the first to fall asleep. A few days later, the Fae's wings were full grown. Beckett decided to wait until his mother stepped out for groceries to break through the patched ceiling with a hammer. He peeled away at pieces of drywall until a tiny, dark, maple-wooded door appeared.
"Thank you,"
said Mercury.
"I must return home now."
Yeah, it was no problem.
"What is the matter, Beckett?"
I never realized how alone I was up until now.
"Need not worry. You have your mother and father, even though it seems otherwise,"
said Mercury. Will you come back? You have to see Home Alone. It's hilarious.
"Only if you wish."
I do. Swing by any time.
"When there's a message in need of delivering for human consciousness, I will,"
replied Mercury. Fair enough.
"And if I return to you, do you swear to keep the entrance to the fifth dimension safe?" warding off any harm towards it?"
asked Mercury. "Of course," replied Beckett. "Don't worry. No one enters my room without my permission."
"Wonderful. My job here is done for now,"
said Mercury. Beckett opened the doorway to his portal. Multicolored rays of light pierced through the opening, warming up his bedroom. Mercury was soon to disappear into the soothing glow, but before he did, Beckett stopped him. "Mercury, wait! What was the message you brought before you were locked out of your realm? Did you ever get to deliver it?" he asked the Fae.
"Yes, I was sent to find the next gatekeeper,"
he said with a smile. Beckett watched in awe as Mercury vanished. After the entrance in the ceiling was fastened, he flopped onto his bed with his homework and a few textbooks scattered about. Every now and again, he peeked up at the maple wooden door above. The end.